We are in Detroit visiting the grave sites of Ben Evangelista and his family. They were murdered in 1929. The massacre slaying of mystical healer Ben Evangelista and his family sent shockwaves through the city of Detroit in 1929. The unsolved case of the Detroit occult murder has become the most mysterious and strangest murder in the history of American crime. Who killed the Evangelista family? Born in Naples, Italy in 1885, Benjamino Evangelista, best known as Ben Evangelista, was a self-proclaimed divine prophet. In 1904, Benny, at the age of 19, and his brother, Antonio, immigrated to the United States. The two were ready for a better future. Benny and his brother moved to Philadelphia and lived together for a time. While there, Benny became interested in the occult and claimed to receive visions from God. As a devout Catholic, Antonio was disturbed by his brother's visions, which were not very Catholic in nature. The two had a falling out. Benny was sent by his brother to work in York, Pennsylvania. While in York, Benny became very good friends with another man from Naples named Aurelius Angelino. The men began exploring the occult as a pair, investigating the world of dark magic and mysticism. However, this was to prove deadly when Aurelius Angelino attacked his family and murdered his twin sons with an axe. He was sent to Fairview State Hospital for the criminally insane. It is unknown if something happened to turn the father into a murderer. Did the occult study what he was doing with Benny to make him snap and kill two of his own children? Whatever the cause, Benny was clearly spooked by the occurrence. Seeking to distance himself from his friend and his crime to find somewhere new, he moved to Detroit, Michigan. In Detroit, Benny worked as a carpenter and became a successful realtor and landlord. Becoming prosperous, he settled down, marrying, and started a family. However, at this time, he also became interested in the occult again. Benny became a self-proclaimed mystical healer and spiritual leader, making little money on the side to support his household. He was soon well known for selling herbs, hexes, and spiritual remedies. Benny would also perform dances, chants, and even did animal sacrifices for his customers. He would charge $10 for his services, which was around the amount earned when working for 2 days at the local factory. To say Benny Evangelista was an eccentric would be an understatement. The basement in his home on the corner of St. Aubin Avenue was transferred into a ritual space with a kind of altar. He would charge visitors a nickel to enter the basement to see depictions of the gods of a religion he had created. Benny's depictions were evidently convincing, although in reality they were homemade papier-mâché and wax figures hung from the ceiling by wires. He called these figures celestial planets and even created a giant eye that could light up. Many people in the neighborhood and the Italian immigrant community came to Benny for cures and potions. Many customers were disappointed at the lack of effects and felt like they had been tricked or scammed, and Benny had stolen their money. Things came to a head when Vincent Elias, a client of Benny, visited the family to close a real estate deal in 1929. Vincent Elias went to the basement entrance after noticing that the home went silent, even though there should have been 4 children playing around inside and out. Vincent Elias thought that Benny was down there working and hadn't heard his knock at the door. Benny was indeed in the basement, but what he saw down there horrified Vincent Elias, who fled to fetch the police right away. The police found Benny Evangelista seated at his desk, hands folded as if in prayer, but with no head. The head was lying on the floor near his feet and surrounded by 3 framed photos of a child in a coffin. It was discovered later that the child in the coffin was one of Evangelista's children who had died a few years earlier. There had been no explanation as to why those photos were located around Benny's severed head. After seeing the body and the ritual arrangement, the police went upstairs to look for the rest of the family. It was soon discovered that the entire family had been murdered. Benny's wife, Santino, was found in bed with her head almost entirely severed. The youngest child, Mario, who was 18 months old, was lying next to his mother with his skull crushed. The other 3 children, Angelina, who was 7, Margaret, who was 5, and Jeannie, who was 4, were found across the hall in their beds. Like their younger brother, the girls' skulls were crushed, and one of the girls had their arm partially amputated at the shoulder. There were no signs of a struggle or robbery. The only evidence from the scene was a bloody footprint leading away from Benny and a single bloody fingerprint on the doorknob. Many of the Italian immigrants in the community refused to speak to the police or admit that they knew the Evangelista family. Officers turned to Benny's physician and his lawyer for information about the family. The physician painted a compromising picture, describing Benny as an insane religious fanatic. Searching for other explanations, Benny's lawyer informed officials that Benny had also gone through several recent lawsuits related to his real estate business. The lawyer said that the cases were so mild, however, that they didn't seem like a reason for a violent family annihilation. Police eventually developed 3 serious theories for what may have happened to the family. The first theory was that the family had been killed by the Italian criminal society known as the Black Hand. Notes were found threatening Benny, but this theory was quickly disregarded. The second theory was a man who did business with Benny was the killer. He denied any involvement. However, when pressed, he did confirm that he went to the Evangelista house the night before the murders. According to his testimony, nothing strange or bad happened, and that he left the home and went for drinks with a friend. This man had drawn police attention because 3 months earlier, he killed his brother-in-law with a knife. He was deemed to have acted in self-defense in the earlier incident. With a lack of confession and evidence, the man was removed as a suspect. The third theory was that Benny's friend from York, Aurelius Angelino, killed him. 6 years earlier, in 1923, Aurelius Angelino had escaped Fairview State Hospital for the criminally insane, and he was never to be seen again. However, Aurelius Angelino's murder of his 2 sons with the axe was very similar to the scene in the Evangelista home. The belief was that maybe Aurelius Angelino went to the Detroit home to seek revenge. Almost 100 years have passed since the Evangelista occult murders occurred, and the case is still unsolved, earning the title as one of the oldest and most gruesome cases in the history of Detroit. We may never know who killed the Evangelista family. We are at the Mount Olivet Cemetery, and we found the grave sites of the Evangelista family, Benny and his wife Santino, and their 4 children, Angelina, Margaret, Jeannie, and Mario. This is the actual site of the burials, but there are no headstones, and we could not find out the answer as to why there were no headstones placed. Rest in peace, Evangelista family. So this is where the Evangelista house was located in 1929 when the murders happened. As you can see now, the house has been torn down and is now what looks like an empty lot. Such an eerie feeling knowing that at this exact location, 6 people tragically lost their lives. Very, very sad.